Daily Soccer Podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Newcastle Podcast. I'm Michael Grameslow and today we're breaking down the World Cup qualification picture, England's campaign so far, where the home nations stand, and which Newcastle United players could be featuring on the biggest stage. But before we get to all that, I am joined today by my good pal, Ian Mackay. How's it going, mate? You good?
It's very good, Michael. I'm glad you've come back because now I can do the podcasts again. I'm not sure what happened in that week you were away. It all went a bit funny and we missed a day or two, but what can I say? Pressures of work, family, all sorts of things. But we're back.
Absolutely. We are back and better than ever. Perfect. Let's get straight into it. So we're going to start with England. As you might expect, we are English. But most people, they kind of expected a fairly straightforward qualifying campaign. And to be fair, it probably was that way. But I don't think anyone ever expected England to have it just so easy. You looked at Serbia in particular and thought, that might be a problem. But this has been arguably the most comfortable qualifying stage for a World Cup ever. Right?
I agree. But I don't think that's because the quality of our opposition is any poorer than it normally is. I mean, fair enough. We haven't got a Germany or an Italy thrown in there, which I think have popped up occasionally. Yeah. But Serbia and Albania been in good form, should have provided some sort of challenge. But I think England look far more reliable, dare I say it. Probably because Tuchel's playing a system and he's finding the players to fit his system rather than trying to crowbar all of the big stars into what clearly isn't a system, which I think is what Southgate ended up doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at Phil Foden, it's a prime example of that. He has played the number 9 a little bit the last couple of weeks just to see maybe if he can play that false 9. Obviously, when Harry Kane does retire, England are pretty, we haven't exactly got a lot of quality up front. So it probably will end up being a false 9. We've seen Bellingham there, we've seen Foden there. But as you say, he's not just crowbarring these players in. He did make some changes for the Albania game. We were still very comfortable. Although Dean Henderson did make some good saves. But until we play someone better than Serbia, that 3-1 defeat to Senegal is always going to remain as a bit of a dark cloud over England. But they did make history in this qualifying campaign. They became the first nation in the new format, it does have to be said, not ever, to avoid conceding a goal in qualifying. That is pretty impressive, right?
Well, it is impressive. And if you look at I know John Stones was in the back four the last game against Albania, but he played in midfield largely. Dan Burn was the most experienced of the defenders with 5. I think he had 5 caps, and that was more than the other 2 had added together because it was O'Reilly's second game and Kwanzaa's debut. So it's not like we've got the old hands in defence bailing us out. We've got a system. I think we've got a system that can be tweaked, and the players that are attending the camps. The training camps, which is bigger than the 11 that turn up to play the game, all know that system. So that's what we need. That's what a team is, isn't it? Where all the individual parts are interchangeable, but the team rolls on. Yeah, think absolutely. Of the best club teams. The best club teams work that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those, the World Cup is going to be a squad game. I mentioned in a podcast I did a couple of days ago about the World Cup. The expansion means that the tournament is longer. More games are being played if you are going to make the final. So that squad is going to be crucial. And it's really good that we did get that rotation in, even if it was just against Albania, because it just gets the bit of experience there. You mentioned Konsa, Nico O'Reilly. Riley. I think between them they have very few caps. Same with Byrne as well. But they're growing in experience. I think Con says had a little bit more caps than Dan Byrne. But when it comes to playing on the big stage, Dan Byrne's done the cup final. He's had the nerves of, and I know it's a Carabao Cup final. You're going to go, Mark Gay's had that as well, but nothing quite equates to not being captain, but leading out your hometown club at Wembley in scoring in that game. So Dan Byrne's done that. He's got that experience there, and I think that'll be vital to England as well. But it does mean that England are now unbeaten in the last 39 World Cup qualifiers. The last man to lose one for England was Fabio Capello in 2009, a 1-0 defeat against Ukraine.
How about that?
Oh,
I got
did
it.
you know?
I got it.
Wow. Can you remember the game, or was it a lucky guess?
God, I think we had already qualified. And I think it was a bit of a nondescript game. I do remember a 1-1 in Ukraine, or was it Poland, when Peter Shilton kept us in the game. And we should have lost it, but we got a draw out of it. That was going back even further.
I don't
That's
think that
because I'm
was
so
in
old.
the 30.
Yeah, not in the 39. No, that is incredible, isn't it? But then it does show what a different beast the finals are in comparison to qualifying for the finals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because some of the World Cups in amongst those qualifiers, we've performed dreadfully.
Yeah, to say the least. Finishing below Costa Rica in 2014 was a particular low point. You've got a group of death, Uruguay, Italy, and you're thinking, right, if you can just avoid defeat against one of those, you've got a chance. And then we didn't. And then Costa Rica also came to town and we looked worse than them. So, yeah. You know what? I quite like Thomas Tuchel and Gareth Southgate now, remembering back to that. It could be worse. Could lose to Iceland in a tournament. So, hang on, we've done that as well. So, positive times. That isn't going on right now. They've probably jinxed us for next summer. But again, I think the 39 World Cup games, you mentioned it there. The World Cup is a different beast to the qualifiers, and I think it maybe shows that it's far too early to judge Thomas Tuchel. Although he has made history, he has done well. The first thing that you could maybe criticise is the whole Jude Bellingham situation, where it feels like him and Tuchel have had a little bit of a falling out. It could even be something to do with Real Madrid not wanting him to play for England and risk him that way. Because obviously Tuchel has rotated the side. Bellingham did come back into play, but he did say it's impossible to play Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, and Harry Kane together. And then literally less than a couple of days later, I went on to do the very same thing after bringing on substitutes in the game. But Bellingham's situations don't deteriorate a little bit, but where do you see him fitting into the England's 11?
Well, I see him as the number 10, for sure, if he is fitting in there. But we do have a number of good number 10s. And I don't think Tuchel likes all of the attitude. I mean, I think you need a little bit of an arrogance to be a Galactico at Real Madrid.
You
and
do.
have a
Absolutely.
20-goal season. And he is still a pretty young man still.
Yeah.
But if that starts rubbing off by thinking that you've got to have some special treatment when it's the manager who's picking who's coming on, who's coming off, who's picking the team, Tuchel, I think, wants to put the marker down that who's in charge.
Yeah.
I think that's where the tension was a little bit. And then, he did get a little bit of a free pass to drop him, didn't he? Because he was injured, and then he was only just back from injury to leave him out of a few squads.
Yeah.
He's brought him straight back into the squad and started him last night, or not last night, whenever it was. Started him on Sunday. So, yeah, I think you've got to take Bellingham. He's a special player.
You do have to take him, yeah. I think for me, the thing that's stood out is the fact when he played in centre midfield, you were thinking, oh yeah, he looks all right. And then Elliot Anderson has come in and completely outperformed Bellingham in that position. And then you remember he tried him up front a little bit, when Harry Kane wasn't there. And he can't get the goals that Harry Kane can. There isn't really a player on the planet, except from that guy from Norway who tore apart Italy the other night and has done so numerous times now, that can do that. He is one of the best, if not the best, striker in the world right now. And he's also a striker that can put in a slight challenge on the edge of the box. I saw him do it for Munich the other week, and now he's doing it for England. So Harry Kane, you can't be keeping him out the side. So it only leaves that number 10 spot, which, as you say, we've got an embarrassment of riches in that position. There's Cole Palmer still to come back from injury. Phil Foden's in there. You could even have Eberechi Eze if you don't want to play him on the left. Morgan Rogers if you don't want to play him on the right. Their best positions, really, for me, are just sort of behind the striker. For me, I like them a bit more centrally. Managers have liked them a bit more out wide. They see them more than me. They probably are better a little bit out wide. But at the end of the day, they get even more competition out wide, and Tuchel can't play them all. So until Kane retires, you're sort of thinking, Kane retires and Bellingham does go into that false nine for me. But until then, he's got some real competition for that number 10 spot. Now, I mentioned 5 players on purpose there. Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Eberechi Eze and Morgan Rogers. Out of those 5, who do you think's at the biggest risk of being left off the plane to the United States if everyone's fit? Because for me, it was Eze, but 2 brilliant performances from one brilliant performance, should I say, from in the first game. Decent in the second. He's certainly in Tuchel's plans now, isn't he?
I think so. I know he's not a number 10, but I think Rashford's cross last night and Eze's performance in the first game might be Anthony Gordon who's going to miss out of playing on the left-hand side, which would be a surprise because 2 camps ago he looked like he was a dead cert, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's still a lot of football to play, Michael. That's cliche, isn't it? But you don't know how injuries are going to work. It's great. Mm-hmm. It's great that we've got 2 or 3 really good players that could play in each position, because some of them are going to be exhausted, some of them are going to be injured, some of them are going to lose form, and what you need to do is take 26 players who are in form and all get on. Mm-hmm. So out of those 5, if they're all going to be picked as a number 10, has Morgan Rogers not been picked as a number 10?
He is sort of been as a number 10. He's sort of been on the right. We know Saka is going to have that position on the right. I'm thinking Bowen probably gets called up as well. So if Rogers is going to play, I think it is going to be a bit more just behind the striker.
Yeah, I think he's earned a place at least in the middle of those 5. It's probably, for me, it's Cole Palmer, who really needs to get fit and do something spectacular because he's missed the whole of Tuchel's run, really, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's one of
so it's probably Cole Palmer. Yeah. Cole Palmer can't just suddenly materialise in the squad if he hasn't played in any of the Tuchel training camps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Foden looked dodgy, but he seems to have rediscovered his form, which is what he needed to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to put perhaps the best player out of the 5 of them. I'll put him down as the one who's likely to miss out simply because of circumstances and his non availability through to injury.
Yeah, it is one of those, isn't it, where you look at Cole Palmer and there's such a brilliant player there. I think at the start of last season, up until Christmas, he was the best player in the league without a shadow of a doubt. But then you're looking at it this season, obviously the injury, Foden, as you mentioned, is coming back. Eze and Rogers are in good form themselves. Rogers wasn't at the start of the season. He is now. He's looking good for England as well. And you can't drop Jude Bellingham. So Palmer is in a really, really difficult position where he's going to have to move one of those out the squad. And to be honest, I do think it'll end up being Phil Foden, just simply because of the comment of, well, we've said it ourselves, he doesn't want to play players out of position, Rodgers can go on the right, Eze can go on the left, Bellingham can go either in Kane's position or sit deeper. Foden is the only one really who is a bit more stuck to that central position. But Palmer is as well. Palmer can go on the right, but typically he does like to prefer central positions. So he is at both of those, Palmer and Foden, are at real risk for me. But with that, we've spoke about England. England was always going to be the main part of the pod, but do want to go into our first advert of the evening. This one from Bayern, and then we'll talk a little bit more about our neighbours.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionic, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionic provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionic. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Good stuff. So, talking about the home nations, let's widen our lens a little bit. So, the rest of the home nations have had very different journeys. We'll start with Scotland, because theirs for me is the biggest surprise, actually, because they royally messed up at the weekend, didn't they? 3-0 down to Greece after 63 minutes. Odysseus, some might remember him as the forgotten goalkeeper from Newcastle, having an
I know.
absolute
Why did he never get a game if he's the Greek goalkeeper?
I mean, he was good for it against England. He was good against Scotland. He must have been absolutely terrible in training for us. But he's currently getting games at Sevilla as well. But yeah, Denmark dropped points in the end. Scotland, Odysseus stopped them from getting any points. And it goes down to the wire, what will be tonight at Hampden Park when this goes out. Can you see Scotland grabbing automatic qualification at home to Denmark, or do you think they'll have to settle for the playoffs?
If they had drawn, let's say, in Greece,
Mm-hmm.
I would have said yes. The fact that they lost, but I know they came back from 3 down, didn't they, and scored twice. I mean, that was a great game. And Denmark will be the definition of squeaky bum time now.
Yeah.
And it's Scotland. Scotland the Brave at Hampden Park. Why not? I'm rooting for them to do it, actually. I like having all the home nations involved.
Yeah, I agree.
Although it means we won't see Willa Sula in the World Cup if that happens. Although they'll end up second. They could get through in a playoff.
Yeah, Willis will get his time to shine in the playoffs, get them through, and do it that way. Yeah, I get that.
The more astounding than Scotland throwing it away against Greece, though, was the fact that Denmark at home managed to fall 2-1 behind against the whipping boys of Belarus, didn't they? That was Belarus's first point. So in the group, they'd lost the previous 4 games.
They looked terrible, haven't they?
So I guess that was 2 against Scotland, lost against Denmark and Greece, and then they got the point. It was out of nowhere. So I think Scotland were kind of hoping that they would do well in playoffs when they went into that game against Greece, losing it. I don't know. I bet they can't believe they're still in with a chance of automatic qualification. That might be enough for them.
I think, let's be honest, Scotland are one of those nations that when the crowd gets behind them, it can make a real difference. There's very few nations like it, really. Scotland, Ireland, the fans get behind them. I'd say a lot better than England traditionally do. And as you can probably tell by the surname Grahamslaw, family originates from there. Got a few ties myself, but as I say, I was almost favouring Denmark just for young Willisula. So as you can tell, the bonds aren't that strong. But it'd be lovely to see Scotland, Wales, Republic of Ireland, etc., all in there as well as England. But at Scotland, let's talk about Wales. The post Gareth Bale era hasn't been great for them, but Craig Bellamy's now at the helm, ex-Newcastle lad himself. They're in exactly the same boat as Scotland, but they're level on points with North Macedonia, who will travel to Cardiff at the same time. North Macedonia famously knocked out Italy a few years back as well. So,
Yeah.
but it's all on Wales. It's in Cardiff. It's a must-win game. Are you impressed by what you saw of Wales under Bellamy against England, or what you've seen of them in other games as well?
Well, I wasn't impressed with what I saw of them against England because they were 3 down after 20 minutes or something, weren't they? And then it was boring because we just sort of held them at arm's length. I fancy them at home against North Macedonia.
You have to.
North Macedonia, if it's a draw, North Macedonia will go through on goal difference.
Yeah.
And North Macedonia haven't lost in this group yet. So that perhaps will end up a draw and Wales will miss out. But Wales could win there. That's another team that can be lifted by the crowd. Early goal for Wales, then I could cruise that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that means that Macedonia would have drawn twice with Belgium as well, which two fantastic results in that case. I didn't actually know that. I thought the 13 points, they must have dropped something somewhere. But yeah, it's
3 wins and 4 draws.
It's a really big task then in that case. It seems like Macedonia have become quite a difficult team to beat in that case. I haven't really seen them play England in a long time. But I remember them being whipping boys back in the day, but knocking out Italy way back when, getting results against Belgium. Actually, North Macedonia could still top the group as well. Just double check there that it would require Belgium to lose at home to Liechtenstein, who haven't scored a goal in qualifying yet. So maybe that's a bit of a non-starter. I don't think they'll be playing for that. But yes, Wales, to be honest, I can see them grabbing a spot in the playoffs as well. And I would love to see all 4 of the other home nations in there. The team that haven't got in through World Cup qualifying is going to be Northern Ireland. Their campaign is ending as we speak right now with home to Luxembourg. They haven't made it through World Cup qualifying, but what they have done is they won their Nations League game, Nations League group, should I say, and that's why they still have the chance of getting it through. They're expecting a comfortable victory. As we speak, it's currently 0-0 after 30 minutes. But they're actually, I think they're closing the gap on the rest of the home nations. They lost to Slovakia last time out, but they beat Slovakia in the first meeting, nearly got a result out with Germany. Is it one of those where we're going to have to stop looking at Northern Ireland as the whipping boys of the home nation and maybe grasp that they could actually get some shock results?
Well, Michael, back when I was a very young boy, not even a man, a young boy, we used to play at the end of the season, the home international competition. And that was England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And Northern Ireland, England won it the most. But Northern Ireland won that once or twice because they are capable of producing a team. And that they also have a crowd. Is they still playing at Windsor Park?
Yes, they are.
That crowd is capable of lifting the boys in green. So yeah, I get, they have fallen back, but there's another guy with a Newcastle connection that's manager there, isn't it? What's he called?
Northern Ireland's Michael O'Neill.
Yeah, he used to play for Newcastle.
Did he?
Yeah,
I don't actually know that.
I think so.
Okay.
There's a Newcastle connection with him. I think he's a good manager. He's been there quite a while and he's building something. He's scouring reserve and youth teams of the Premier League to find some Northern Irish players. But yeah, so anyone could turn up as Northern Irish, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And you are
strength of their granny.
You're absolutely right, by the way. Michael O'Neill, 48 games for Newcastle between 87 and 89. Scored 15 goals before moving on to Dundee. Absolutely fantastic.
Pays to be
I had no
ancient
idea
occasionally,
before
you know.
I will
Back in the
say
late
my
80s,
knowledge of football
back
before
in the late 80s
96
was when my memory worked as well.
Well, let's hope it's still working right now. But yeah, you mentioned there Northern Ireland. They are getting some good young players out of these Premier League teams. And it is one that it could lead to them growing. They've got a couple of idiots from Sunderland as well, but they're not going to do much there. But finally, on to the other part of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and what a story that was at the weekend, wasn't it?
I
The
know. What's the
Ronaldo
name of that centre
fanboys.
forward? Troy Parrott, otherwise known as Harry Houdini,
Oh,
to
absolutely.
win those 2 games the way they won those 2 games. To beat Portugal and the extra bonus of getting Ronaldo sent off during the game. Excellent. But yeah, to go away and win in Hungary, come from behind to win in Hungary, that
Brilliant
a
result.
place where England got walloped 4-1 just a few short years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, it was
Um,
horrible result, but this one, brilliant.
fantastic way that they have pulled those results out at the end to snatch a playoff place. And they're a heck of a wild card if you're going to have to try and play a playoff. I wouldn't fancy being Denmark, for example, getting to play a 2-leg game against the Republic of Ireland to get into the World Cup. I think they would they wouldn't be relishing that.
No, absolutely. The new manager, I believe he's one of, if not the first, non-Irish manager to manage them. And Icelandic or Finnish? That's really embarrassing. I can't remember.
Icelandic,
Icelandic,
Icelandic Hermansen, I think, something like that.
Edmonton, yeah.
By the way,
Uh,
Jack Charlton wasn't Irish either, mate.
I said one of. I knew there was. I thought there was another one, to be fair, but I couldn't think off the
That's
top of my
him.
head who it was. And if you'd said Jack Charlton managed Ireland, I probably would have went, eh? I had a
They had,
feeling there'd be another one somewhere.
they had an old German before this bloke as well, though, didn't they?
Can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it was a old German player. What's he called? I'm going to get his name before you've got a chance to look it up. I think it begins with an O.
I think you might be looking at the wrong island. It was John O'Shea and Stephen Kenny before this one. Then Mick McCarthy, Martin O'Neill, Noel King, and Giovanni Trapattoni, which
That's who I'm
is a
thinking of. The
blasphemy.
old Italian, not German.
Yeah,
That's who I'm
it's
thinking of.
a very, very, it's a very, very unique actually set of managers there. But it's one of those, yeah. Helmir Hallgrimsson, obviously, he came in for the game. Well, I think it was just before they played England, and Ireland did look pretty dire. But now they look like a team with some resilience behind them. And as you mentioned, with Denmark, etc., going into the playoffs, you're not going to want to play a team with that kind of resilience because it's
No.
just scary. They could come back at any point. It's like when Rangers were in the Europa League. Every single round, they were the favourites to get beat. And then they got the final, obviously lost on penalties to Eintracht Frankfurt. But that kind of resilience can get you so far. It's truly astounding, actually.
When do they do the playoffs, though, Michael? Do they wait till March?
Yes, I believe so.
So that's the shame, isn't it? All of this momentum that teams like Scotland will have they won't be playing in it, will they? If they've, but
If they
the
go through,
momentum
yeah.
that they build up from having a good set of results to actually snatch something is lost if they've got to wait
Yeah.
until March to play the playoffs. That said, you really don't want another extension to this international break to play the playoffs now, though.
Yeah, could you imagine if we had one in December? I think I'd cry. But we know they're going to be in the playoffs. We know they've got, we believe they're going to start off with a home game. That is to be confirmed, though, depending on results elsewhere. But what isn't to be confirmed elsewhere is just how good of a platform for streaming and podcasting Zencaster is. Jesse, take it away, mate.
Here at Global Sports Podcast Network,
we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencaster came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencaster.
Right, let's bring it home. We've spoken about the rest of the home nation.
Firstly, Michael, a fantastic link into the Zencaster advert. I appreciated it.
Oh, thank you very much. Now I've got to link back to Newcastle United.
Right.
Great stuff. Right, let's bring it home. Newcastle, we've got a pretty interesting squad in regards to international talent. If this was 6 months earlier, we'd be talking about how a certain Swede has somehow not managed to get to the World Cup. Obviously, they'll be in the playoffs as well. But we're going to be talking about a certain German who scored the opening goal to ensure Germany got there tonight. And I'm saying that with 60 minutes left because Germany are 3-0 up as I'm saying this. So I'm fairly confident that's not going to blow up in my face. But we'll start off with the two Germans. Nick Vollemar is obviously the standout striker. He started getting goals for Germany. Let's be honest, he's on the plane. But the player that might not be on the plane, and is a little bit... There's a bit of controversy about. He has just returned to the squad for the first time in over 2 years. Malik Chow. Last week, he had his first game for Germany in a very, very long time. How have you rated him in a Toon shirt so far this season?
Very, very, very pleasantly surprised with how quickly he has formed a partnership with Sven Botman. How calm and assured on the ball he is. I know we saw him almost get sent off in one game with what looked like to be a reckless tackle, but I think on that game, I said the ball went under his foot and it looked like a bad tackle, but it was just because he thought he had the control of the ball. Anyway, I gave him a pass on that. Other than that, I think he's been excellent. He's fabulous at bringing the ball out at his feet. He's got a great range of passing. Looks good in the air. Very quick. Getting back and doing some amazing blocks. I think he's a fab player. And if he keeps his place in Newcastle's side, and I think he will, I think that he will only cement his place in the German team. They don't seem to have anyone other than a few aging second choices to battle against him, do they? It's the players that used to be sitting on the German bench that are now playing in the German team.
Yeah, he's the young standout, definitely.
Yeah,
he's absolutely the young standout, and I think he'll be a mainstay for Germany for years to come if he plays the way he does for Newcastle. There's a few players that are pretty much guaranteed to be on the plane. Bruno Guimaraes, Ancelotti's acknowledged that Bruno is one of his most important players. Sandro will be if Italy qualify. Italy would still play him in centre midfield if he had his legs removed, so he's guaranteed. Yohan Wissa's Congo knocked out Nigeria last night in what was a big shock, so he'll be there as well. The only one there's only one player that's really been dropped on the Newcastle side, and that was Joe Linton. He was dropped for the most recent round of fixtures, not because of injury, just because of his performances. Now, centre midfield is where the Brazilian press think they're weakest. They think their midfield is terrible, and that is including Bruno Guimaraes, which to me is mental. Do you see Joe Linton getting back into the team, and do you think his dropping was fair based on those Newcastle United performances this season?
I think it's very quick to react to Joe Linton's performance dropping off at Newcastle. But Joe Linton hasn't been on it the way we were used to him being on it for the previous 3 years, that's for sure. I think his position in the Newcastle squad is up for grabs. I'd love to see Ramsey given a good run there, see if he's as good as we think he is.
I'd agree.
Maybe even hits Joe Linton's position that Miley would take over. if we do splash the cash in January, it could be where Elliot Anderson takes over as a first-team player.
Oh, I imagine that Elliot Anderson comes back. We'd probably still play him as fifth choice. He's in behind
Yeah.
Joe Willock.
No.
That would be a story, wouldn't it?
I think Joe Linton has badly out of form for some reason. Now I know he got injured, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's susceptible to that. I can remember him missing the second half of the season when he got injured in January against Sunderland in the FA Cup. He missed the last half of that season.
Yeah.
And he is getting on now, 29. So it may be that all of these rough and tumble that he's enjoyed so much is catching up with him.
Hinders the late stage of his career. It would make sense.
We'll have to see. It depends entirely on his form, winning his place back for Newcastle and getting back to some of the heights that we know he can achieve, as to whether Ancelotti will be watching him every week, though, won't he, on the
100%.
Premier League highlights and that. He'll know how he is doing.
Absolutely. I think the only one, I mean, there's obviously Sven Botman for Netherlands as well, but I want to get on to England. We have about 10, 15 English players in the squad, but how many do you think will make Thomas Tuchel's 25?
Dan Burn will.
Okay. That's one.
I can't count Elliot Anderson anymore, can I?
Nope.
I would say that Anthony Gordon was a dead cert up until a few weeks ago. I think Rashford and Eze, he was way ahead of those.
Mm-hmm.
The last round of the last international break, I think those two have both done very, very well. So I think he's got a battle to do, and that means finding his form for Newcastle between now and March. I think Lewis Hall will get in.
Okay,
I think
that's two.
I think Tino Livramento will get in.
3, okay.
And do you know what?
Ooh.
Pope will play brilliantly. Then he'll be on the plane, or he'll be dislodged by Ramsdale, and Ramsdale, I think, is the second best goalkeeper after Pickford for England. So my
Ooh.
wild card would be Ramsdale, because Ramsdale will come in for Pope on Saturday and play the rest of the season for Newcastle, and I'd have to take him.
Ooh, big call. I love it. I love that. And to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if Ramsdale does come in. Obviously, Nick Pope's only got a concussion, but it's one of those where you take him out the firing line, and you give a goalkeeper who has been player of the season at 3 clubs that he's been at in the last few seasons, and give him a chance at Newcastle to do exactly the same. So if he does, let's be honest, you put in a player of the season performance at Newcastle United, you probably are getting into that England squad when, the opposition is, to be fair, Dean Henderson I really like as well. But then after him, it's James Trafford, who can't get a game at Manchester City. And then you're looking maybe Sam Johnston as well. So one of those two.
The third goalkeeping slot is up for grabs. I mean, it must be. With Nick Pope, before he banged his head, Nick Pope was going to be in that squad.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? So James Trafford lost it because he hasn't played since he signed for Man City, virtually, or certainly since Donnarumma signed for Man City. He's not going to play enough to go. So that third goalkeeping spot is up. And I think Ramsdale, it might be Ramsdale and Pope that go with Pickford.
Could well
if
be.
Henderson breaks a finger or something.
I'd love to see both of them there. It's just one of those. So you do have to think for James Trafford. Like if he hadn't chose Manchester City and he had chose Newcastle, he'd probably be England number 2 come the World Cup. I don't think he dislodges Pickford, but he'd certainly be England number 1 in the future. But that wraps up our deep dive into the World Cup qualification. England was steady. The home nations are still battling, and Newcastle, as always, have a growing list of international talent. I could have mentioned Emil Kraft as well, but Sweden are still away. Thanks to the terrible performances.
And Anthony Elanga you forgot about as well.
Yeah, but he wasn't good either, so I wanted to avoid talking about him.
What are the chances of Alex Murphy getting in for Ireland?
To be honest, probably not far off. But it's as we say, it's a growing list of international talent. Some have done a little better than others. But Ian, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me. And to everyone
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. And if you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe, drop a rating, 5 stars only, and send in your questions for, well, whenever you want to answer them. Cheers. See you later.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.